Hi folks, I'm just making a video really, I want to call it trolling with J-Ball. Basically, there are a number of atheists that troll me, and basically they have archive channels where they collect my videos and stuff like that. It makes free speech nigh on virtually impossible, but I'm continuing to go on and not let them bother me. But from time to time, these people try to stir up problems and try to make issues. And today I've made a video. It's a very important video, which I put on private, and other people have mirrored the video, which I'm delighted that they have. But they've gone and changed the original front of the video because it's a sensitive issue about the beheading of children. I put on the front page of the video the cross, so it wouldn't be offensive or upsetting to anybody, and also respectful to the children. So the first thing that you would see before you even open the video was a warning before you actually look at the video, and a picture of the cross. But a couple of these atheists have uploaded the video without the original front picture, showing disrespect to the children who've been martyred, putting me at risk because they're being provocative rather than being respectful. And I just want people to know that. I just want people to know that I have a group of atheists that are trolling me and continue to troll me, continue to try and cause me aggravation, distress and emotional harm. And I don't think it's fair. I think the atheist community should speak out against it. Nobody's doing this to Thunderfoot or Ironrar or DPR Jones or any the main atheist on YouTube. Nobody's got archive channels on Thunderfoot. Certainly not 3 archive channels. Nobody is doing this kind of thing, but the atheist community are allowing atheists to do this to me. The excuse that the atheists have had in the past is, oh, Jason won't allow comments, but they fail to tell you that I've had tens of thousands of comments, and the vast majority of them have been abusive. So why should I allow comments? But because of this criticism, and even though I've had continual abuse in comments, I have opened the comments section up. So these archive channels don't have any legitimacy whatsoever. The argument that I take videos down and they want to put them up, well, they have 1,000 of these videos that I would like to put on a channel, Atheist Examined. I used to have a channel called Atheist Examined, and I closed that down because of atheist intimidation. And I would love to upload many of the videos that I have on that I had on Atheist Examined, and many of the videos that these atheists have on their archives. I'd like to put them on one channel where it was about critiquing atheism, but I'm not able to do that because the atheists took away my freedom of speech and will not allow me to have my own channel specifically on atheism. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of double standards, a lot of hypocrisy in the atheist community about these archive channels. They are abusive, they are trolling, they systematically allow abuse against my family, against me, on their comment section. Some of these people have been involved in saying things about my private life, about my family, horrendous sexual things about my family, and of allowing these kind of comments on these Jason Burns archive channels that they have. And the atheist community are not up in arms about it. They don't say anything about it. but it's a serious infringement of freedom of speech, and not only of freedom of speech but of abuse and intimidation. And the atheist community have to do something about it. They have to regulate or ask these channels to be regulated and to be fair. And if the atheist community doesn't do that, then you bring in atheism internationally into disrepute, because it's no good Dan Barker fighting for the freedom of atheists in America, because if he or atheists are not willing to fight for the freedom of theists as well as atheists, then they're showing discrimination and they're showing hypocrisy. And you know, I've tried to engage. I've talked to JD Kane. I didn't want to talk to him. I talked to him yesterday, and I'm happy to engage with people. I've had some really good conversations recently with atheists, John McDropout and Christopher Mountier, and I've really enjoyed that. And that's the kind of thing that I want to promote and encourage. But I do feel that as an atheist community, you have a responsibility to protect me and defend my freedom of speech and my rights. And it should shock you that I don't have a channel on atheism, and that channel was taken away because of your abuse as a community. That I have never felt comfortable in starting Atheist Examined again, because I don't want to experience the kind of abuse that I experienced and the kind of intimidation. So that should shock you that I have never opened Atheist Examined again, and I haven't uploaded my videos, and that I have a lot of videos that I would like to upload on to a channel concerning critiquing of atheism from these archive channels. That these archive channels run by atheists have 1,000 videos of mine that I would like to use because they're against atheism or militant atheism, and yet I can't use them because I'm not allowed to open a channel on atheism. So there's double standards there, and you have a big responsibility. We're a community online, and we should be caring for each other, and you as an atheist community should show some care and some love by making sure that these channels are done in a way that are not abusive and do not encourage abuse. And they are abusive, and they are encouraging abuse, and the channels should be closed down. There's 3 or 4 of them. The channels should be closed down because they're irresponsible. They're not responsible people. They're not encouraging dialogue and discussion. They're just encouraging people to come on and attack me as a person, attack my family, and this isn't fair. And I have pleaded and pleaded with the atheist community over the years, and you've failed to do anything. I have had these channels closed. I then offered an opportunity for these channels to continue if they would only be fair, but from time to time they try to stir things up. They try to wind me up, and at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is that most of the atheist community, my videos that I made against you were against militant atheism, and the atheist community always forget that. They never seem to realize that my videos were against militant atheism, that I have no problem in dialoguing with atheists, and I enjoy talking to atheists as a whole. And that body of work was against militant atheism. And the fact that the ironic thing is, my whole videos were about calling out the atheists, that you were anti-democratic, that you took away people's freedom of speech. And the ironic thing is, you've taken away my Atheist Examined channel, you've taken my videos on atheism which I can't use because you won't let me. And so you proved the point that I was making with those videos, that you're anti-democratic and you're an abusive community. So what I'm trying to communicate to you is the only way you can absolve yourself as an atheist community internationally that you are an open, free, democratic people and you are not extremists is by regulation, by accountability. And that means that individuals who are promoting abuse, promoting the taking away of freedom of speech on your behalf as a community, and supported by a number of your prominent atheists, and a number of prominent atheists have supported these archive channels, then that is an indication of that you promote systematic abuse in your community. And if that's the case, then you have to answer to that to the public, because the public can assess. They can see the many countless Google Hangouts that you've had where all you've done is slandered and attacked me when I've not been there. They can see the cyberbullying that you've got for archive channels. They can see the trolling and the abuse that you've allowed and promoted and encouraged. So what I'm saying to you as an atheist community internationally, I'm enjoying conversation with John McDropout and Christopher Mouty, and I really hope that the atheist community internationally embraces me in terms of dialogue and discussion, and recognises that I'm an equal partner with them in the internet community internationally, that we're equal partners in dialogue and discussion, and that you embrace me and that you promote inclusiveness and dialogue and discussion, and that you embrace me as an atheist community in that process. And by doing that, you are making a declaration to these archive channels and to any other atheists who kind of agree with this kind of mentality, that you're sending a strong message to them that that is not the way to go, that the way to go is to respectful dialogue and discussion, and to promote inclusiveness and a forward-looking democratic society and culture where we can listen to each other and dialogue and discuss. So the onus is on you. If the more you keep me on the sidelines, the more you try to attack me as a person by having Google Hangouts where I'm not there most of the time, although yesterday I went on JDK's show, but the more you attack me in your Google Hangouts personally, the more you try to sideline me by allowing these archive channels which try and take away my freedom of speech. The more you do that, the more the public will see that you're not as inclusive, you're not as dialogical, and you're not as open and democratic as you make yourselves out to be. And everything that I've said in the past will be vindicated. That I would have been vindicated of calling militant atheism out, even though it was done in a very unorthodox way. So I'm giving you an open challenge to the atheist community internationally, to the Matthew Steeles and to many out there, is that I'm not going away. I'm going to be around for a long time, preaching the gospel and serving the Lord. And the more you try to ostracize me as a community as a whole, the more that reflects bad on you, that you're not as inclusive and open as you make yourself out to be, and that you're actually promoting silent abuse, where because you sidelined me, you're allowing groups that are really not democratic, are really abusive, to abuse me. And the opportunity is there for you as an atheist community to embrace me in debate and discussion and dialogue, and to move away from a life of ad hominem, of Google Hangouts, where all it is just beating up on Jason Burns, rather than actually having Jason Burns there and engaging with him in conversation. You know, a few times I've gone on Google Hangouts, such as the Global Atheist, and I had a wonderful time with him, and I really respect him, but yet he allowed people to come on afterwards when I'd gone, and they just attacked me, and I wasn't even there to defend myself. And this has gone on and on and on in many Google Hangouts. Fortunately, the trend is changing. There are atheists that are now beginning to see that I do respect atheists, that I do want to dialogue, I do want to discuss, and the past is the past, and they're allowing me to move on into a more fruitful experience in YouTube, and a fruitful experience with atheists. And I hope that this grows, that there are more and more atheists that want to give me a chance and give me an opportunity to dialogue. And J.D. Kane said, well, respect is to be earned, and he fails to understand that my issue was never with atheism. My issue was with militant atheism, and my lack of respect was to militant atheism, never to atheist and atheism. I've never been against atheism that is inclusive, dialogical, and democratic. And wherever I find atheists like that, we get on like that. We get on really well. And so I commend Christopher Mouty, and I commend John McDropout. I hope J.D. Kane changes. We had a discussion yesterday, and I commend the Global Atheists for doing it. And I encourage the atheist community to engage with me and dialogue with me, and to do respectful, inclusive dialogue and discussion. And that also means you have to be willing, and this is something that has you have to think about and take seriously. But it means at times that you're going to have to speak out against sometimes your own community that is discouraging dialogue and encouraging abuse, and sometimes you're going to have to be willing to speak out against it, and to allow abuse to go on and not challenged is not right. And you know, in my own community, I've spoken out against certain things that I don't think is right. But the atheist community never do that. They never call their own people out for when they're abusing theists. And I think it's time that you take that seriously, that you have to do that. And you can start by promoting dialogue and discussion with me, and that's a start, that more people get involved in discussing and dialoguing with me, and engaging with me. And that's a way of building bridges and building on a better foundation. So I'll leave that with you. I would ask the archive channels to respect my wishes, that video that you've uploaded about a girl being beheaded, I ask that you put the original picture on the video at the beginning of the video as a sign that you want to do the archive channel, but you don't want to promote abuse of Jason Burns. You just want people to see what Jason Burns is saying, and see everything that he said. If that's the case, then you need to be sensitive and respectful, and I would ask you to put the original video on, please. That is the cross of Christ was on there, and that will show that there's some dignity about what we're talking about. So I'll leave it with you. I'm not going to get stressed about it. I'm not going to bother. I'm just trusting for the future that there are going to be more people like John McDropout and Christopher Mouty that join the band of just respectful dialogue and discussion. And J.D. Kane did some discussion with me yesterday. I thought it was respectful, and I hope that continues. And I'm having a Google Hangout on Sunday, and I hope that it can be repeated what we did the other week, and a respectful discussion, a respectful dialogue. And at the end of the day, when we're finished, we can have a cup of tea and we can be friends, and that's what I want. And I wanna be happy on YouTube, and I want people to be happy. I don't want anybody to be unhappy. And so that's where it is. So if people want to dialogue and discuss, and they feel that I'm part of the international community on the World Wide Web, internationally in terms of the atheist community worldwide, if they feel that I'm part of the dialogue, that I have something to bring to the table in discussion with atheists, and you think I've got something to add, I would encourage you to come to my Google Hangouts and dialogue with me if you feel I've got something to bring to the table. If you don't think I have something to bring to the table, just ignore me. If you think I'm a human being and should be treated as a human being, then I would encourage you to dialogue with me and show your disapproval of any group or anybody who wants to encourage abuse on the internet, and to stand together, all of us, every one of us stand together for inclusive dialogue and democratic, open dialogue and discussion, and democratic principles of promoting each other's rights. Alex Borton has retired, and people have been said some horrible things to him, and I don't agree with that kind of thing in terms of his freedom of speech. I'm passionate about the freedom of speech, and I would defend Alex Borton's freedom. I would defend Jim Gardner's freedom, even these people who've said things to me, and vice versa, where we've not been the best with each other. But I would defend their rights. I would defend anybody's right, any atheist on YouTube who was committed to democracy, committing to freedom and dialogue. I guarantee you, I would defend your right to freedom of speech just as much as anybody else. If someone was abusing any atheist on the internet, I would speak out against it. I would. And I would defend them. I would defend them with my life. And I mean that. And all I'm asking the atheist community is that you recognize and you understand that my problem was never with atheism. It was with militant atheism. That atheism as a whole, the vast majority of atheists are decent people. I've always felt that, and always will think that, and that the militant atheism that I was attacking was a minority of atheists who took atheism and used it in a way that it is not what atheism was about. But my issue was never with atheism, and that shouldn't stop you from seeing the real Jason Burns. That the real Jason Burns is a nice person who's willing to talk, willing to learn, willing to grow, willing to dialogue, and has made mistakes, will continue to make mistakes, but is a human being and wants to engage. And if you want to do that with me, then I would be delighted to get to know you. I would be delighted to debate and discuss with you, and I would do the same for you. So I'll leave it with you, and it's an honest, open video to you as an atheist community, and I offer my hand there, and if you take my hand and we walk together, we might not agree, we might not see eye to eye, but at least we can walk together, at least we can try and understand each other, at least we can have some good times together, at least we can be happy together. And if we disagree, we can have a cup of tea and some tea and biscuits or whatever. Okay, at least let us be like that, and not this them and us, whatever. Yeah, I've said my piece anyway. So I suppose this video is an open letter to the atheist community. Let me in, let me dialogue with you, promote democracy, promote freedom of speech, promote inclusiveness, and see past the past, see past the issues that are bigger issues, that are bigger things that you need to understand. And so I hope this does some good, and I just hope that there are many atheists out there, or some atheists, that will hear the call and answer. And you've got a big chance. We've got a big discussion coming up. And so I'd ask Ozzy, I'd ask Gary Edwards, I'd ask other people to come. And I'd ask Gary Edwards and Ozzy not to use big words. Just keep it small. If you use big words, I'll start speaking in Latin. I'll start speaking in Latin, guys. So keep the big words out. Just keep it simple. But it's going to be good. It'll be good if people come and we have a really good conversation. So those are my thoughts. So God bless you, and love to everybody out there.